In the last video, I hinted that whilst in general we weren't going to be doing that much decluttering anymore because ultimately I have reached the end of my decluttering journey in the home, I did say I would be decluttering about 80% of what we had left because we are actually preparing to leave sooner than we initially realised. And one of the big reasons for that, although not the only reason, is currently happening right now. So straight away, apologies throughout this video. Hopefully the microphone will block it out, but we have got some new neighbours, or all of a sudden the people in the apartment at the side of us that has previously been emptied has decided to start doing renovations, and it's something that quite frankly I cannot put up with. So that is why we've made a big decision to leave sooner and perhaps only spend 50% of our time here and 50% of our time travelling, becoming digital nomads. What's the number one thing in a digital nomad's life? Their tech. But throughout the various weeks coming up, there's probably going to be about 4 or 5 weeks of getting ready and preparing to leave. And I'm also going to make a whole load of minimalist home videos before I go. So after that, you'll have all kinds of minimalist tips type videos to look forward to and various other decluttering videos to cover the next 6 months. But for now, we have got about 4 weeks, so about a month's worth of these preparing to leave videos. Now, the number one thing is tech. I'm basically still going to be sometimes doing my academic writing work whilst travelling and also making videos for 2 YouTube channels. I had to think about how I could downsize my tech. So let me show you all. This is not a sponsor. I got this tech bag because I wanted a bag that could be my carry-on, that could also house a couple of other little things, like my passport, for instance, when I'm going through the airport. But I need a way to be able to keep my tech on me at all times. It'll be the most important and valuable thing that I'm taking with me, which is why at a later date I have to consider what will be the other piece of baggage that I take, whether I choose to take a small carry-on suitcase that this can rest on top of, because this does weigh maybe about 10 kilograms, or whether I choose to wear a backpack on my back and this on my front. Anyway guys, let me show you what is in here and really give you all an update of what I've actually got rid of, because since I think I did the last everything I own video about maybe 4 or 5 months ago now, nearly 5 months ago, I've got rid of quite a lot of tech, and I'll show you what I also plan to get rid of. Shall we show you what I'm getting rid of first and then what it currently looks like? So because I have this new camera, which I will show you in a little bit, I just don't need this Sony camera anymore. I've thought about it long and hard. I've listed it for sale because I want to get a considerable amount of money back for it. I am basically listing it now so it has a chance to make some of its money back. Now this Sony camera that comes obviously with the camera, the tripod, which even on its own is quite expensive. I think they're about £200. The microphone, the SD cards, a spare battery, and the case, which is hard shell. I previously just thought this would be great. You know, it's in its hard shell container. It'll be great for when I'm traveling. But the truth is that now, compared to what I've got, is actually quite big, because I'll show you why in a minute. But the camera that I'm using is basically half that size, and it matters a lot when you're trying to get obviously your baggage down as small as you can to be constantly traveling. I also discovered after maybe a year of using this camera that there are a few things that for somebody who wants to do both inside and outside type videos, it is not appropriate for. It used to be appropriate when I was just doing these sort of piece to camera videos, but now it isn't. Number one, it is not waterproof. Number two, it has not got good stabilisation. So when you're walking around with it, even with the action mode on, it looks very jittery and shaky. So I wanted something that would cover those two dynamics. And quite frankly, this just doesn't. So I have to not be sentimental about it because it was my first sort of camera that I got for the channel. It just no longer is fit for purpose. I need something like this camera that can do both. So this is being sold. You know, it may be in the background of some of my videos sometimes because I have started a declutter pile ready to leave. It's going. So what other tech do I take as somebody who is obviously a digital nomad or becoming one? The phone. The phone is great for when you are in a little bit of a pickle. You might have your camera away and you might want to get a shot really quickly. At the end of the day, many of our cameras now film in 4K. However, what I have noticed about filming with iPhone over the years, even when I occasionally get a little clip, is the quality is not quite as good. Even though it's supposed to be 4K, it always looks a bit darker and a bit grainier, and the audio is definitely not that good. So I only use that when I'm really in a pickle. However, what I recently learnt is if you go for a phone that has a high storage, so that's got 1 terabyte for instance, it does serve as a sort of built-in extra storage facility, i.e. you can always back up all your files, even from this camera that I'm using, to this. So should the worst happen and you lose your camera or it goes missing, you've always got a backup on your actual phone, which is great news for me because Lord forbid I went traveling to somewhere great like Japan and then I lost my camera or something and all my footage. So I think it's good to have double backups, and that is what my phone also serves as. So that itself will always be on my person. But let me show you this. I obviously always want to take my laptop wherever I go, mainly because there are some features that you can only edit your YouTube videos with if you have a laptop. Some facilities are still not available on the YouTube Studio app on your phone, so I like to use my laptop to do that, and also for my other work as well. Now, let me show you the tech bag, because the laptop nicely fits in the padded back. I also keep a little bit of paperwork in there, but we are also going to be going through my paperwork in future weeks as well and downsizing even more of that, because if we don't stay on top of these things, even that builds up a little bit. So I really have to downsize everything, because even that paperwork folder now, even though it all fits in one folder, I think that does nearly weigh 1 kilogram, so it definitely needs cutting down because we don't want the extra weight. What is not in this tech bag, which recently has always been a feature on my channel? A couple of months ago, I got rid of my Kindle. I just made the decision to get rid of it, not because I don't love it and love the idea that you can fit sort of 5,000 to 10,000 books on one tiny electronic item. It was mainly about the space and how often I get to use it, and the fact that there is just something else that I can do. I would personally rather save myself that space and that extra weight, and then if I am ever in a place and fancy reading, just borrow a book or buy a second-hand book and part with it before I leave, rather than carrying that extra weight around of the Kindle. And I even thought at a future date, there is a possibility in my future of maybe having an iPad for various other things that I want to do with my videos. Obviously, if I had an iPad, I could also read on that with the Kindle app, which yes, you can do on your phone, but it is incredibly small. So I just thought, I know that I definitely don't want the Kindle anymore. So the Kindle is gone. Along with the Kindle, I also recently decided to get rid of my AirPods, which were the Pro 2 model. And it's largely because, if I'm truly honest, I must have incredibly tiny ears or something, ear canals, because even though I fitted them with the smallest grips, they always felt a little bit too big for my ear, and I would often get sort of aching ears after only having them in for sort of 15 to 20 minutes. Don't get me wrong, I actually love Apple products, maybe an unpopular opinion. Unfortunately, we need tech to be able to do our job. Anyway, the Apple AirPod Pros, not for me. For now, I'm just going to cope without, or with the back to basics cable earphones for when I need to work. But maybe a lot longer in the future, I may go for some kind of other headphones, because I just don't like the pain they actually cause in your ear. In general, that was definitely not about the size, because they are smaller, so I know it makes more sense for traveling, but they actually hurt my ears, so they are going. So we've got rid of the Kindle, we're getting rid of the other camera, and we've got rid of the AirPods. So what is left? Considering that this bag is full, because you need kind of a lot of other little gadgets when you are working online. So this is my very padded tech bag. So as you can see, without all the padding, it probably only does take up about half of that space, but I feel like we need the padding for extra space. Another thing I've got rid of, I previously had about 3 tripods, and that was because I really had 3 cameras. And this one, which actually goes with my other waterproof camera, actually fits my new camera as well and can also fit my phone. So it is actually the most multifunctional tripod, which is why I have decided to keep this one. Also in here, we just have a little clip extension for when you're using your phone, and then we also have the tripod for the waterproof camera because it is floating. In case you were ever in the water and you actually drop it, it floats and you don't lose your camera. So they are really the only tripods that I need, so all the others have gone. Now let's show you all what else I've got, because remember now that when I am traveling, I'm not going to be doing just sit down videos. They're going to be very sort of exploration orientated, a little bit actiony. I do have one tiny miniature tripod, and that is perhaps for if I ever just want to go out with a very tiny bag and just do a little bit of filming that's very discreet, perhaps on a table or something. It can hold my camera or my phone. What do we have in here? In this little section, we really just have all the wires for all these things and the pair of original Apple cable earphones that I mentioned. In the bottom here, we just have a waterproof cover for this whole bag so that it can't even seep through any of the zips. Then we have a waterproof cage for my Insta360 camera. It is mainly waterproof for if you're just out in the rain, which is a reason that I need that as well as this camera I'm using, as this one isn't waterproof. But that is if you actually want to go in the water and obviously submerge it, which although it tells us our phones can do, I've never quite trusted that. So what is the camera that goes with this camera that I'm talking about? This is my Insta360 camera, the one that is waterproof for all weathers, but the audio on these are not great, which is why I upgraded to this one. And this is now just my backup in case of emergency camera that is also my waterproof camera. I think it's okay to have 2, but I think 3 is going a bit far. What is also great about this is this little part actually comes off for a very discreet way of filming. Then for dark situations, we have a light. This is a recent thing that I got when I learned that it is incredibly hard filming in very dark situations, and it can just slide onto the top of my tripod and I can light where I'm going or light myself if I'm trying to film on an evening. In here, this is actually the case for our small projector that is in our bedroom, because we would actually take this one with us so that when we're sort of in hotel rooms or Airbnbs, if we wanted to, we could plug our projector in and use it even whilst traveling. So then I just have a couple of spare little batteries in here, and this is the current camera. So let me put this down while I show you. So the current camera that I'm using, the DJI Osmo Pocket 3, is a camera that also has the microphone with it. I nearly forgot, I previously also decluttered my Rode microphones, which look very similar to this, but they came in a pack of 3. I personally found them very fiddly. They would constantly unattach from the receiver. You would think that you were using it and it had unpaired, and there were quite a lot of faults with it that I personally just didn't like. I actually really like Rode microphones when you do have them on your camera as a big microphone, but not as like a lavalier type microphone like this. I think the DJI are better. I also like the fact that with this DJI camera, it has a built-in gimbal, and the stabilization therefore doesn't come from software, but comes from the actual mechanism in the camera, I think it is great. And it also comes with, let me show you all. So this is the little bag that it comes in. Now, I don't know if you can truly see how tiny that is, but it is the size of my hand, and I have incredibly tiny hands. Let me give you all a better eye. It's the size of your phone. It is actually the size of your phone. What is in the bag? You get an extra battery, you get the microphone, you obviously get your cable, you get a cover to protect it, and in the cover, it's such a great design, you actually have these magnetic clasps, and that is your wide angle lens for when you're walking or filming in a small area. The wide angle lens actually comes with it, and it fits via a magnet inside. It also has an add-on, if you want to get that, of getting different filters for effects and colours over your screen, which is kind of a little bit like colour grading for anybody that's a bit techie. And I just feel like it has so much that comes with it in this tiny bag. So for instance, to prove to you all, it does fit in this bag. As well as that, as well as the extra batteries, you also get given a miniature stand for if you don't actually want to go out that day and you're just filming a video like this. That is your miniature stand that could just stand on something while you do your piece to camera. There's just basically all the stuff that you could possibly need in this tiny, tiny little bag. And what else did I have? Oh yes, and I also got this. So this little device actually enables me to take the SD card out of my DJI Osmo camera into there and transfer it to my phone, which is the way I can back up all my stuff if I want without my laptop. So for instance, if I ever went on a short trip and I didn't want to take my laptop with me to transfer files from the camera onto the laptop as a backup, I could just take that, put the SD card from this camera into here and transfer it all onto my phone as a backup without taking my laptop. I think it's great for when we do those kind of trips, because obviously, like I said, we're going to be spending half of our time here, half of our time there. Sometimes that might be on a monthly basis, sometimes a 2-monthly basis, sometimes 3 months, sort of 3 months away, 3 months back. I want choices about what I take with me each time, and I always want to travel as minimally as possible. So if I can get away with just taking this and not my laptop, I would absolutely do that. I think this is probably the most minimal for quality camera you can possibly get. This is not sponsored, remember guys. The other little camera that I showed you all, this Insta360, it films, but the audio, not good. And it doesn't get all the other stuff with it like this one does. So that is really, like I said, my backup camera and for waterproof scenarios. This camera, I will insert a little clip of it now for you all, because obviously I am filming with it, so I can't show you it right now. But the great thing is about it, because it fits inside its cover, which you can sort of see there, it then all perfectly zips up inside this tiny little bag. And then it all fits in here, and all the tech I will need to film all my future videos. Sorry that the light is now coming in at a weird angle on my head, guys, from when I started filming. It's getting to that really difficult point in the year, sort of autumn and spring are the worst times for filming in this house because of the location. But I now have all the stuff I need. That's all my tech. Everything else is going or gone. That is the downsizing of my tech, but stay tuned for other things that I am going to be downsizing or paring down over the next coming weeks. We're going to probably get rid of 80% of what we have left in our kitchen, around the home. I'm going to be even paring down some of my minimalist care products, because I really don't need them if we're now going to be only spending half of our time in this house, because the water problem that we had that was drying both mine and my partner's skin out isn't going to be as much of an issue if we are not here all the time. Hope you enjoyed this video. I'll see you in the next one. Again, apologies about that banging that is going on. I'm looking forward to perhaps being somewhere a little bit more peaceful at other times. See you later. Bye.